Hi, this is Shubham, and in this video, we will learn one of the very interesting use case study related to HR database. And an organization is maintaining the data in a non-tabular format, and they are required some insights from this data. And we will discuss that either Excel formulas are useful in this situation, or we can use Excel Power Query to solve the situation in less time and with less efforts to have a meaningful extraction from the data which is required to the management. So let's proceed. If you can see the data, this organization is assuming that it has 8 employees and we have a columns, and you can see the data, each of the data is in a separate columns, and in the first column pertains to the employee numbers, and the second column pertains to the employee names, and then the status of each of the employee, that either he or she has gained some annual leaves or sick leaves, sort of privileged leaves, right? Or they have taken off certainly from the organization. So every data is presented in a separate column, and the management is required that how many employees has taken the, for example, the sick leave and earned leave or a privileged leave in the month of May. So we need to extract the data from this non-tabular format, require that we need employee number, employee name, and the dates in which those employees who have gained the sick leave and the earned leave applied for that. So now in this kind of data set, it is very difficult to create a formula. Might be formula, or we need to transform the data from non-tabular into tabular format so that it can be easily fetch the data which is actually required to the management. So I will demonstrate two solutions in this video, and I will share this file with you. So let's start. If we have this kind of data set, which is a non-tabular format, and first way to convert this data into a tabular format means that row wise. So I have used some helper columns, or you can say extra columns, to make this non-tabular data into tabular format. Now for doing that, definitely a lot of efforts are required, and let me show you that which kind of formulas or functions I have created and nested with each other so that this data should be transformed in a different way. So if you can see in the column AR and AS, you will find two columns there. These are the extra columns for the calculation to make a non-tabular data into tabular format. So as I say that in this particular example, we have 8 employees. So the first function which I have applied in this particular cell is the count a function which definitely counts the total number of employees which are available in the data set. And as we know that it starts from C7 to C14. So it gives 8 as a return value. Now the row index column, as you can observe that it generates a serial number starting from 1 till 8. So it is generating a serial number from 1 till 8. Why? Because we have 8 employees, right? And each 8 is present in separate columns. So if I conclude these two columns calculations, so there are 8 employees. So 1 till 8 serial number has been generated, and again it is starting from 1 till 8, and it will repeat until and unless we will get to know that how many columns date wise are present in our data set. And the column index, the first, if you can observe that this specific formula is creating 1 every time, and it's create 1 8 times, and then after that it is starting from the next number, which is the 2 in the serial number, and again it is creating 2 to number 8 times, then 3. So it represents the column number in which there are different employees. There are 8 different employees, and unless we will find that how many columns are there in our data set, right? So we have 31 days in the month of May, and we have 8 employees altogether. So, right? But if I expand or show you this formula, definitely in this specific short video, might be you will get it, or later on, if you download the file, you will get to know that how the cell number is being created. So you can do your practice while playing this video for your understanding. So definitely these kind of formulas take time to analyze and to think about that, how it will be work, right? And based on these two topics, row index and column index, I am converting the non-tabular data into tabular format and extracting the four important columns which are required later on to convert into a pivot table to extract those employees to have applied for the sick leave or the earned leave or the privileged leave based on different dates. So once I have created the row index number and column index number, so I have used the index function to fetch the employee numbers, then dates. Then once I've called the dates, I will use the text function to extract the date and then definitely the inputs, because I require that which employer has again which kind of leave in that particular date. Right. So now this specific non-tabular data has been converted into a tabular format by applying some various functions available in Microsoft Excel, which definitely takes our time to make this transformation. And once we have done this transformation, and after converting this data, I have created another worksheet in which I have summarized all those employees who have taken the earned leave and sick leaves on different particular dates and their employee number. So this is a simple kind of, you can say, index match and combination of if error. So let me just zoom this. So instead of VLOOKUP, I have used this index match and the rows and then some concatenate concept, and for not having the any errors in the cells, so I have used the if error to substitute it with a blank. So this is again a very simple formula. So intermediate and advanced level Excel users can understand. So this is how I fetch the data. The one more way to get these sick leave and earned leave is, once you have the tabular format data from non-tabular, you can select this four columns and then you can create a pivot table for that. And within the pivot table, you can just drag and drop the fields which you are required. And in the inputs, I have only selected the sick leave and earned leave, which is EL and SL, right? So now from the starting, from this non-tabular data, converting and transforming to a tabular format by having some helper columns in creating some complex formulas for it, and that we have applied the index match at the end, or we applied the pivot tables. So if we want to do a less effort and we want to apply the another feature of Excel and we don't want to invest a lot of time in the solution one, for example, so we can go for the Power Query as well. And within a few clicks, the data will get transformed. Let me show you that how it can be done. And then you can create a pivot table to fetch the required result for the manager he has asked for from you. So now we have a data, and this is a similar data. We have the employee number, we have employee names, and then we have the leaves status for each of the data in a separate column. And what you can observe is that in the previous data set, you have also two helper columns which represent the day and name of the day. So we can transform that as well in the Power Query. So you don't need to worry about that. So quickly, I will select this entire data set by pressing Ctrl A, and I will convert this data into a tabular format. So for converting a normal data set into a table format, you can press Ctrl T, or you can go to Insert tab, click on Table, and make sure that you have a check mark on My Table as headers, and press OK. So once you have a normal data converted into a table, what you can do is, if you are using the latest version of Microsoft Excel, go to Data tab, and on the left side, you will find Get and Transform Data group. Here you will find a small icon of table or a range. So when you click on that, Power Pivot, the window will open and you will now in Power Query Editor. So the first thing is that you have to select all the columns, all the data columns altogether. So I have clicked on 1st May 2019 and I will press the Shift key and I will use this scroll bar, and holding the Shift key I will click on the last column so that all columns should be selected. And I will go to Transform tab and I will side. You will find Get and Transform Data Group. Here you will find a small icon of table or a range. So when you click on that, Power Pivot, the window will open and you will now in Power Query Editor. So the first thing is that you have to select all the columns, all the data columns altogether. So I have clicked on 1st May 2019 and I will press the Shift key and I will use this scroll bar, and holding the Shift key I will click on the last column so that all columns should be selected. And I will go to Transform tab and I will click on and Pivot Columns. So now this non-tabular data has been converted into a tabular format, and now I need to transform some columns into their proper formatting. So as you can see, this date column is not a set in original as a date. It is being into a text format. So I will just click on the small icon on the top left of this header, which is called ABC in the moment. So I will click on this, and from this contextual menu, I will click on date so that this should behave like a date. And I will double click on the header to rename this header of this particular column. So I will rename it as a date. And if you have observed that we need to have the day number and the day name as well. So I will right click on this date column and I will say make this column as a duplicate column 2 times. And now I will transform this specific column by right click on this particular column, and I will say I need the name of the day, right? And I need, for example, transform day and the number of the day. So I need a number of the day. So again, I will double click on the header to rename. So it's days and double click day is number, right? So once my data get transformed and in a proper manner, so I will go to Home tab and I will click on Close and Load. Now remember that if you have used Power Query before, and if you are an advanced user, you might know that if you click on Close and Load, this entire dataset will load into your Excel workbook in a separate Excel sheet. Whereas if you have a large data and you don't want to load it into a Microsoft Excel worksheet, and alternatively you want to load it to the Power Pivot data model, so what you can do is click on Close and Load to, and then you can move entire data directly into the Power Pivot, where you can also apply the DAX as well. And later on, if you want to create a dashboard out of this data, that will be very easy for you. But for this particular video, I will load this data into my current workbook and in a separate sheet. So I will click on Close and Load. So once I will click on it, a new separate sheet will be created, and now it shows that there are 248 rows has been loaded. Once your data has been transformed, now what you are required is to simply create a pivot table. So I will go to Insert tab, click on Pivot Table and click on OK. Once your data has been transformed, now what you are required is to simply create a pivot table. So I will go to Insert tab, click on Pivot Table and click on OK. Once you have the pivot table, and from the right side, you can just drag and drop the fields which you are required. As I showed you, as I have created in the solution 1, which were required to create a lot of formulas for that. So now you don't need to have the formula for that. You can just drag and drop the fields which you are required. So employee numbers, employee names, what else we are required? Okay, so in the values, we will put value into the filter where we are just required to get all those status of the employees on different days, who have applied for the sick leave and the earned leaves. So I have checked mark on EL and SL, and now I can just put their values here. If I need a date for that, I can put the dates here. And if you don't like this particular format layout, you can just right click, go to pivot table options from this contextual menu, and here you can click on display tab and click on classic pivot table, which will definitely split each of the fields into separate columns. If you don't want total, just right click and uncheck their subtotal. So it will remove the subtotal as well. So now if you can see there is one more issue. There are some cells which are unfilled. If you want to fill this data, definitely you have this option available. Simply go to Design tab and click on Report Layout and click on Repeat All Item Labels. Right? So now we have all those employees who have achieved the earn leave and the sick leave. Right? So this is how it is very easy. I hope you understand that from starting from a non-tabular data into tabular format with the help of Power Query within just a few clicks, and you have fetched the data which the management has required from you. So I hope you like both these two solutions. Okay. Thank you.